I would just say very clearly that get yourself involved. You don't have to go to every meeting. You don't have to, but you do have to know where to get good information that's solid and factual and real.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Polaris Connection, your podcast that connects parents of autistic children with industry experts and proven results. I am your host, Brad Broyles, and I'm here with my Coalition Connector co-host, Nathan Palmer.
That was a bunch of alliteration, and I'm proud to own it. Thank you, Brad, and happy to be here. Speaking of coalition, though, there's a reason why that was in today's title, and that has to do with our guest, right?
Correct. Yeah, we are so excited to have to introduce our folks with an amazing lady, full of energy. I hope we can keep up with her. Ann Monahan, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it. And could be the ADHD that makes me full of energy, but that's okay.
You know, that so it's funny that we have lots of acronyms in the autism world.
Yes. That
one's one of my favorites. One of my boys comes home and has this great joke. He says, "Dad, I went to the doctor the other day, and I don't know what an HD is, but apparently I've got 80 of them."
I'm going to start using that.
That's a great one.
That's a really good one. Good dad joke.
Right?
Well done, you.
Starting off with a strong dad joke. There's Nathan Palmer. That's the Coalition Connector. Anyways, but Ann, you're very unique. You're the owner and operator of Norris Health, Norris Group. Mm-hmm. And then also you are the board president of the Arizona Autism Coalition.
Correct.
And we wanted to have you on the podcast for our families to get a little bit more involved with the Arizona Autism Coalition. Tell us a little bit more about it and how'd you get involved?
Sure. Well, we're really proud of the coalition. It's been 15, probably 18 years now. We decided back in the day, 15, 20 years ago, that we needed to bring everybody together, and it needed to be very, very clear that you leave your ego at the door. It's not about you. It's about the people we have the privilege of serving, right? And supporting families. So what we did is we said, okay, we don't care if you're an educator, you work for the state, you're a provider, you're a family member, you're a medical professional. And we said, you're all welcome, right? We keep our rates very low because we want family in particular engagement, and they need resources. Mm-hmm. So what we do is we have 4, events per year. Most people, I think, are the most, they understand that the expo is our big deal. What that does is we have just a lot, probably 2 to 3 thousand people, dear Lord, come in, and
100 million
1,000 bazillion people. But there's probably 2 to 3,000 that will come in, and they stop at tables, they talk to resources. And again, it has everything to do with not just autism. So to be clear, it is the Arizona Autism Coalition, right? But we work and deal with all IDD, intellectual and developmental disabilities. It's not like, okay, you don't have autism, you can't come. No, Down syndrome and anything else. We honestly open our doors to everybody because we are so much better together. Mm-hmm. We're so much stronger. So we have the expo, which is this huge big brouhaha, and that's in April. We have 3 days of learning. And what we've decided, early on, we had conferences, and it was great, but conferences are 1 or 2 days, and you're there all day, and there are things going on. We wanted to get it to a point where we would just have days of learning. We'll pick a topic or something that's happening within the state or something that we're concerned about and say, okay, we just had a day of learning this last Saturday, actually, and we had a great panel there. John Myers from the ADDPC, Arizona. Okay, anyway.
More acronyms.
More acronyms for everyone to have.
Sorry, John.
On the QT ASAP. So we had really good panel people. We have Mercy Care, and we get, insurers there as well, so we can talk about what's going on.
And that's what I like about the coalition. It's just not, hey, we're just getting families together to talk about what's going on. We actually bring, like you say, stakeholders.
Correct.
So we have insurance companies that are there.
Yes.
We have legislators that are that are invited, or government officials that are invited. Mm-hmm. They're invited. We have, providers. Mm-hmm. Can you clarify what is a provider?
So a provider of service for any individual with IDD can be a myriad of things, right? You're going to hear things from the DDD, Division of Developmental Disability side.
Which is Arizona specific.
It
correct?
Is Arizona specific.
Right.
So,
mm-hmm.
Well, every state state has a form of DDD.
Correct.
Ours is just named DDD.
We just, for our audiences that live outside of Arizona, we just want to clarify with them. That's an Arizona specific.
Right. And then, ACCESS, which is Arizona Healthcare Cost Containment System, another fun acronym, is our Medicaid system. Okay. So our Medicaid system is very robust in the state of Arizona. Probably the best benefits, or I would say arguably the best benefits in the country, truthfully.
Well, we hear that a lot because we see a lot of families moving to Arizona that have special needs that are wanting to get involved with it.
One of the reasons for that, though, is, and we were talking about providers, but autism and ABA, applied behavior analysis providers in particular, that's something that's grown exponentially. I was part of the 2009, when the 2009 insurance approval came through. So we started working in 2009 on insurance. And, flash forward to 2026. And it's a whole different kettle of fish. I mean, you're dealing with a lot of different things. But providers, back to the provider question, is, whether it's ABA, whether it's schools, I mean, really and truly schools, you're working with individuals as well. Or speech, OT, PT. I mean, it really has anything to do with the whole person. A lot of our kiddos have, bariatric issues or gut issues, right? So it's really anybody that's working with your child or your loved one that's providing a service, whether it's through commercial insurance, or through the state itself, or, like an access plan like Mercy Care or United, right? So anybody that offers a service to an individual with IDD is a service provider.
Okay. And the coalition then brings all these resources together because I will say as a parent, it's a daunting task. One, to figure out what services do my child need, and two, where do I find it? How do I compare it? What's even available? I mean, it's an overwhelming world. So it's nice to know that there are nonprofits out there that are bringing those things in a collective format to say, hey, this is what's out there. And I like that it's an educational event because it's not just, listen, sometimes we go to these and it's like a sales pitch. I feel like I'm in a meat market and everybody wants to come sell me their dish, and as a parent, I'm almost like walled off. Like as much as I'd want to learn, it's with this bias of, yeah, but what are you trying to sell me? So if this is an effort to educate, then it's like I can drop the walls, I can go learn what's out there, and now I have this trusted introduction into the world of autism services. So
absolutely. And what we are, the at its heart, the Arizona Autism Coalition is a resource giver, right? We offer resources, meaning information, for families, for providers, for medical professionals, educators, insurance companies, the state. I mean, we do bring everybody in. And it's a really great, I'm really proud of the coalition.
Well, you should be.
Yeah, thank you. Because
you guys do a lot of good. That's why we wanted you here.
Well,
we know that your reputation's strong, and we want other families to know who you are.
Thank you.
How they can get involved. We'll get into that a little bit later, but tell us a little bit more about, before... Kind of curious, how did it start? Like, I know you talked about in 2009.
That's the insurance piece.
Correct, but what was the kind of the core foundation of the coalition?
Well, what initially happened was the owner of Hope Group, her name is Lori Cairns. She was working with a friend, Lisa Glow, at the time, who was the CEO of SARC. And this was back in the day, so this has been a minute. And they were talking about, instead of there being an adversarial relationship from one another, right? Especially at that time, we weren't meeting the need. We were not meeting the need of families. There were people that were on wait lists, not that they should have been, right? But they were. And I think the coalition was born out of, okay, enough of this little segment and this little group. Let's just come together. And when we say leave your egos at the door, we're not kidding. You have to leave. If you start, again, espousing, and here's a sales pitch and all, we're not interested.
Sure.
We're not, because that's not what this is about. This is about offering resources and making sure that, to your point, families, even new providers that are coming in, hey, we're a new speech and OT. Where do we go? What do we do? Who do we talk to? You have to match people up. I mean, the internet's wonderful, right? But The internet, like everything else, is biased. So it's important that you educate yourself. You ask questions, and it's okay to ask questions. And if somebody tells you as a family it's not okay to ask questions, you need to run, because that is not somebody you need to be involved with. It is incumbent upon you as the family member, if it's not your child, right, to know what it is happening with the health care of this individual, whether it be your child or somebody else in your family per se, right? It's very important, very vital that you're involved. And the challenge that we have is everyone's busy, and, it's a 24/7 life with, working and dealing with somebody with IDD. So I would just say very clearly that get yourself involved. You don't have to go to every meeting. You don't have to, but you do have to know where to get good information.
Sure.
That's solid and factual and real.
Right.
And that's what we're talking about.
Well, and in an industry where they talk about that there's a lot of collaboration, there really isn't a lot of collaboration, and that's what's kind of unique about the coalitions, that you're bringing these different providers, these different stakeholders to the table to have real conversations. So if our parents go to an education summit or a seminar that you have, what would they expect?
Well, typically what we do is we have, like, we'll do a call for papers, right? And we'll just say, hey, this is our theme. We're talking, like this the last day of learning we had was really about what's happening at the legislature, what's going on with our state. Everyone's talking about everything, and people are freaking out, people are upset, people are not unsure. And so we roll out a theme, right? And we say, give you guys, anybody could say, hey, this is what I'd like to talk about within that theme. Right? And then we pick several of them, and then we have a day of learning. So families can go to any of the sessions they want to. There's also booths, not a ton.
Is this a paid service? Families have to pay to come, or is
They
this
do.
available?
I think it's $25.
Okay, so it's pretty reasonable for...
Well, and if you're a member too, you get a discount. So I think, it's the same thing for students, same thing for educators, same thing for providers. There's different levels, right? You can be a provider that just comes and just, purviews everything. You don't have to be a high level sponsor, so to speak. Okay. So we did that so we could include everybody. That was the intent, and will always be the intent of the coalition, is to make it affordable for everybody. We offer scholarships as well. We give those out every day of learning and resource fairs that we have. So, what was the question?
No, just what would our parents expect? You talk about topics, and let's jump into one of them. Like, what was the last conversation talked about at the educational forum that we missed? Like, what was the big?
It was about our budget ask. We had a panel, and on the panel we had really great individuals like John, and Michelle Thorne of Caring for the Caregiver was on it, Barb Brent, who used to run DDD here and also worked with NASD, another acronym, which is a national DDD director group, right? Mercy Care was here, which was really great. We had a provider of service who works with parents as paid caregivers on the panel. And so the conversations were really about where are our services right now? What are the challenges we have with our services right now? How do we engage both our members and the families to ensure that they understand what's happening? Because unfortunately, you get a lot of misinformation.
Well, and there's been a lot going on in the state of Arizona recently.
Nationally, by the way.
And nationally. So do you mind kind of going over what are some like misunderstandings that parents might hear that is just not true, and kind of like more of like, hey, this is really what we're talking about, the state legislator or the national level?
Yeah, so a couple of things. HR 1, the bill from the feds, has very devastating cuts to us over this year and then the next 3 years. It comes in incrementally, and it jumps up quite a bit. So Arizona is looking at like a $3 billion. It's going to be a challenge for us from the federal cut level. Right?
And these are cuts specifically in which areas are we talking about? Because there's Medicaid, which is going to affect what kinds of services potentially.
It'll affect every service. And what I think I want you guys to understand, I want families to understand too, is as CMS or Center for Medicare and Medicaid Services goes, so goes the world. And what I mean by that is they are really the pinnacle of making decisions, right? You think, oh, it's just Medicare and Medicaid. Why should it matter? Medicaid, we're at 1 in 3.5 individuals having Medicaid in this country. 1 in 4. That is a huge lift.
For
right?
sure.
That is a huge lift. And so we need to understand how the funding works, because it's not just about, oh, my legislator doesn't want to be nice and fund us. It's about what is sustainable for our state, for the services that we have, and through our Medicaid waiver, okay? The waiver is the pinnacle. We have what's called an 1115 waiver, and I won't go down the rabbit hole with that, but we have...
You're just full of acronyms today.
You're welcome. You're very welcome. But no, what it does is a Medicaid waiver, what it does is it sets the basis for our services in Arizona. Insurance companies follow that.
Sure.
Even though there's an insurance mandate in Arizona, right? A lot of the information you see is going back and forth is because they're all kind of in lockstep together, right? You've got commercial insurance companies, you've got managed care organizations, or MCOs, you'll always hear, which are the Medicaid component of services through a private insurance company like United Community, right?
Yeah,
and Mercy Care. Correct. There's actually 7 right now, 7 MCOs in Arizona Banner and Arizona Complete and Health Choice. And so there are options with it. But I think what we need to understand is we are not in a vacuum. It's not just Arizona, right? It is nationally. We are seeing very large reductions in services like ABA and caps being for states. I have a list of 17 states that are dropping down requirements and to receive the services, and also capping out how many hours you can get for specific services.
So when we're talking about like authorization, so this is ABA services.
Correct.
So if I get an authorization for a one-to-one care for my kiddo at any center, you're saying that they're reducing those authorization hours.
Correct. Or what's happening is what you'll see every time we're in, and this is true, I've done this for 30-something years, and so I've been at the legislature for 20-something years, and you'll see every time we hit like I hate to say it, but we went through what we went through with COVID, right? When we had what we call it the second big problem we had in 2008, 2009, when we had all those, there were cuts across the board in 2008 and 2009, right? And so when you see that, what happens is people, the companies, the insurance companies, the state, they kind of rally the troops and get everybody together and go, okay, so what are we going to do? If this is our reality, what does that mean for services? What does that mean for provider rates? What does that mean for coverage? Okay. And so things like age caps, right? Oh, you're 7, you only get 10 hours of this. Oh, you're 14 or 16, you get 2 hours.
Right. Now, is Arizona moving into an age cap? Or has it been in
the new HNT tool for the division right now for ABA services? One of the things that makes Arizona look so good nationally is that we have no diagnosis requirement and we have no age limitation on ABA services, which is lovely, except where we've seen exponential growth in the last few years to the point where it is something that the legislature here is talking about. Pretty dramatically. ABA services and parents as paid caregivers was the other big.
It's fun. I don't mean to interject in the dialogue, but I'm listening right now, and I'm a parent.
Yeah.
Right. So I'm kind of putting myself in the seat of our listeners, and it can be really easy to get a little bit anxious about all that's going on. It's almost kind of like sometimes I want the joy of ignorant bliss, like
for sure.
The less I know, the better.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I think awareness is important because at least the way I was brought up, it invites the opportunity for creative solutions.
Correct.
Right? There is no great breakthrough happened without first an identification of a great problem.
Right.
And so I think the more awareness we put on, hey, these are concerns,
yes,
the more it invites the option to go, great, well, what's the other way we could approach it? That's kind of where Polaris was born.
Right.
I mean, my wife and I struggled in that path for getting services for our son and the ongoing assessments. What do you qualify for? Because a parent's always going to see something different than a randomized assessor is going to.
Of course.
And advocating for those needs gets hard. It gets tiring.
It does.
So
it's exhausting.
It is. And the insurance companies, as you know, they make it really easy for all the parents and everybody around there.
Yeah. And one of the reasons we're so vocal about what we do as a school, we didn't want to hold our cards close to the chest. Mm-hmm. Including all these services as a basis of an educational track without billing the state or insurance just became an alternative pathway of saying, we get the value, but let's take away some of the headache. I hope other providers and I hope other resources kind of jump on the bandwagon of how can we help to lift this up? Right. Instead of just relying on state services, what are some other ways we can bring this care into our dialogue and our conversation? So what you guys do as a coalition besides advocating for those things, I think invites the opportunity for us to come up with our own way through, even if state legislators don't agree.
And that's perfect. The point is, I don't want people, and the reason that we talk about this, because there's times when I'm like, I feel like Debbie Downer. Ugh. I've been at the legislature and I'm like, oh, this is what's up and all this money and, and I do feel like Debbie Downer. But here's the thing. I don't want you blindsided.
Sure.
That's the other piece that I think we need to talk about is that should things happen, should cuts come, should there be this is how we're rearranging things, this is how we're redoing these services to ensure sustainability.
Right. And kind of backing up, like when DDD started and the robust services with the ABA, didn't Medicare, it's kind of they just kind of went for it just to provide these services.
That's Medicaid.
A little bit, almost a little bit out of hand in a way. Not that they were negligent, but they wanted to provide so many resources to so many families, and now they're just kind of cutting back because there was just
Okay, so I'm going to tell you two things about insurance and how this works, and I've done this for 30 plus years. So when a new service, right? Remember, ABA's been around for quite a while, right? Yeah. But not mainstreamed really until the last 10, 20 years, I would say. Okay, I would argue that anyway. So knowing the last 20 years, this is kind of coming up. When the mandate for the insurance mandate, when that went through.
Now the insurance mandate says, hey, insurance providers, you have to pay these type of services. If
you have to pay for autism and ABA services, right? Depending on the size, obviously, if there's coverage and things. I will tell you, yes, and I will tell you too, for self-funded plans, they're not required. So, and what that means is if it's a self-funded plan, say, Home Depot, okay, they're self-funded, and what that means is their claims don't go through a typical process. Okay, they pay those claims themselves. They go through an adjudication process or a processing with an insurance company, but Home Depot will pay those claims. Mm-hmm. That's a self-funded plan. In the law, they are not required. Okay, most of them do. Let's be honest. Autism benefits are so extremely vital and important. Number one. Number two, it's the most effective treatment, right, for certain individuals. And I think it's important that we recognize it is a standard and a base for our services. I don't think that's ever going to go away. But when insurance companies first look at, okay, we have to bulk up our network, right? I'm going to talk to United. I'm going to talk to Mercy Care. And Mercy Care says, okay, we're going to go out and say, hey, would you like to be part of our network, right? You're an ABA provider. Would you like to be part of our network? Or the provider says, I'd like to be part of your network. When it's new, when you don't have generational information, they're doing the best they can with the best everything they know. So sometimes they'll bring in multiple providers that they may not need, okay? And what I mean by that is, okay, we really want to have a robust, solid network because you're required by law to do so. So for them to do that, they're going to go ahead and contract with a bunch of different people, right? Different areas in the state, different specialties. But when there are issues that come up with funding in particular, they all take a step back and they look at their networks and say, what do we need? Recognizing that with HR1 and some of the other implementation that's been going on, there has been a reduction in insured individuals. There will continue to be reductions in insured individuals. One, because they either can't afford it, right? Or two, because based on new assessments, new tools, their individuals are no longer eligible for services. So Insurance companies don't know if they're going to lose 50 members or 5,000 members. Okay, so they put everything kind of on hold for a little bit so they can do some research. What's going on? What is this going to do? What that does to provide the provider network, though, is really, really challenging for providers, because they could say, we lost a bunch of members, right, of our members in your area, Brad. So I don't need you anymore because I've got 15 other providers in that area. I've got, 30 members. I don't need 20 providers. Okay, so they look at, how do we restructure that? Who do we have that has the most? And you have to recognize there are going to be outliers, those that are paid a lot more or more, and then there's going to be those that are paid a lot less. They're looking for the middle ground here. So what that does for families, though, is it really is confusing for them, because where are they supposed to go?
Right.
If benefits are being moved, if I no longer can get the robust ABA that I wanted or I had before because authorizations are reducing, what do I do? Right.
And the problem is they don't know those authorizations are reduced until the BCBA submits that to the insurance company. So how do our parents prepare for that?
Well, so one of the things that's best practice, and we talk about all the time, I was just working with a client yesterday on this, when benefits are verified, right? They come in, they give you the insurance card and say, here you go, here. And you verify your benefits. Verify them robustly and give them to your families. And what I mean by that is this. Example, you have a Blue Cross and Blue Shield plan. You have a $2,000 deductible, which never happens anymore. Now it's $10,000, but you have this much deductible, right? You have this much of a co-insurance, meaning after we pay, you're going to have to pay this much. You have this much of a co-pay. Okay, these are what you're responsible for. Here's all these bill codes that we're going to see your child for. ABA 97155, 97151, 97153. You're going to see this individual and you're going to do these services. We're going to give you 20 hours for this, 50 hours for this, 10 hours for this.
Right.
Okay. If they change that on the back end, the insurance company, what typically happens is they send an updated, and you can't see me, but I'm quoting, an updated authorization that says, this is what's up. We have decided this based on whatever rules, whatever medical necessity, whatever it may be. Okay. And then you're right. The families are kind of stuck, because what ends up happening is they're like, wait a minute, I have my kiddo scheduled out for 3 days a week. So now I have to go down to 2 days a week, or I have to go down to 1 day a week.
But, so in the insurance industry, how do a parent, so we've had this happen to where parents choose new insurances.
Sure.
Okay. And they want to have ABA services for their kids.
Yes.
How is the best way can a parent be proactive in, they have a job and, hey, you guys, we have 4 different options.
Can I answer this one? Because I can tell you what I'm thinking as a parent. And here's what I can tell you from a parent side. I don't understand 80% of all the back end stuff with insurance and billing codes, but what I hear and what I feel is that I may have limited access to services I was relying on before. And so as a parent, my thought process, even right now, live when I'm listening, I'm thinking, okay, then I need to be educated. Then I need to learn myself, what does ABA look like inside my home? I need to learn myself, how can I use OT techniques in my own space?
Yeah.
I need to go, where can I get educated? So a point to the coalition.
Thank you.
Where can I learn about what these are? And frankly, how do I do this within my own framework, knowing I have resources out there to be taught?
Right.
Because, and maybe it's just how I grew up, Brad. I was taught if no one's going to do it for you, learn to do it yourself.
Yeah. Absolutely.
So what I'm hearing is the state may be doing a little bit less, but that's not necessarily the doom and gloom.
Right.
Because what this could turn into, frankly, is empowering our families, empowering our parents to step in and be that broader piece of the puzzle. And then the resource becomes not who's going to pay my bills. The resource is going to be where can I learn? And those that can provide an educational resource now become a trusted value and the direction we go. So I know that's way off kilter what we were just talking about.
No, it's actually perfect.
It is perfect. It is
perfect.
I just wanted to finish up that last final thought because what you're saying is perfect, Nathan. Exactly. It takes more ownership back to the families. But I do have families reach out to us and they say, hey, here's my new insurance card. Here's my new provider. Do you guys accept this?
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
And
you can ask that as families.
And that's fine too. And we do our research. We do our, we double check to make sure that we can. But what the tricky thing is that authorization. The authorizations is kind of an unknown because you have to be assessed, and then the assessment goes to the insurance provider, and then they say yes or no, and they have to do it. That's the
well, medical necessity is the pinnacle. Okay, so what that means is insurance companies are supposed to look at each individual. What works for me doesn't work for you, doesn't work for you, Brad, right? It just doesn't. There may be a foundation of the same type of work, but then they're going to go, well, Ann's this way and Brad's this way and Nathan's, right? It's the same thing for our kiddos or our family members, right? They're supposed to be services based on need. And what I want to be clear on when it comes to this is it's not just what the individual needs, but recognize that for the majority of parents, you have multiple, and I do mean multiple services, right? You've got speech, you've got OT, you've got school, obviously, you've got PT, right? You've got bariatric stuff if you have gut issues, if you have modality issues, you have other places you need to go. You have ABA services, you may have DDD services as well, attendant care, respite, habilitation. I mean, there are so many services that surround the whole individual. We have got to start looking at the whole individual more and what their needs are and what fits into their everyday life. Okay.
And at a state level, I am glad there are people like you advocating, because I wouldn't even know where to start.
Right.
As a parent, I think we also need to look at education and awareness, because really, I mean, the more and more I listen, and I just want the positive lining to be, yeah, let's say worst comes to worst, services get cut and I have less access.
Sure.
I'm still a parent.
Yes.
And my time with my child is still there. So then I'm going to say, how do I upgrade myself? How do I empower myself with those tools to fill the gap? And I hope that spawns a whole new series of resources. You know, part of the reason we started this podcast was a resource to parents, to educate them in the community. And we try to include those tips as often as we can, right? But that might be the more important focus. Say, okay, if ABA services are cut, parents, this is what ABA looks like in your home.
Yep.
This is how you can introduce ABA and parenting techniques. And that now becomes this new pathway of not relying on somebody else to solve my problem.
Well, and I love the mind shift, because again, we do trust these government agencies to provide different services for our families to help us out to take care of that whole individual. But if services are being cut and we, from the state level or national level, whatever, it's almost kind of like that, so what, now what?
Right.
Okay? If this is what our new normal is, that's fine, because we can adapt and we can change, because that's what we do.
Well, right now, I mean, all ABA services offer 97156. It's parent training.
Right.
There's a reason that they offer that.
And most clinics don't take advantage of that.
And they should take advantage of it, because I'm going to tell you this. Insurance companies aren't used to cradle to grave. We are cradle to grave. And I mean that with love. Okay? They're used to, oh God, you broke your leg. Sorry to hear that. Here, we set it for you. Now you're going to go to 6 weeks of PT. Then you're going to walk for a little bit. You're going to come back and see us, and we're going to release you. So this is a 3-month process. We're talking birth to death with some of our individuals. So recognize that what we're talking about is much more than a typical going to the doctor experience, right? Because of the fact that you are required as families, and I hate to say required, but I'm going to tell you that's what it says in all of your insurance contracts. How do we know that? Because I've read them all. Dear Lord. So you are required to work with your family member. You are required to learn what they're doing in an effort, insurance companies believe, to have families be educated, understand how to do the services. We just had a pandemic. Do you know how many families had to step up?
Yep.
I mean, it's because nobody could go anywhere, or there were very few places to go. And it gets really scary. It is all about empowering yourself as a family member and a parent. Ask questions. Please ask questions. And when you do, seek real answers. Not, well, we get that sometimes. Oh, we're working on it. No. I need resolution. I need to understand what your answer is, not that you're working on it. And if you are working on it, when is that work going to be done, and when can we expect resolution? We have to be very good in working together for our families and for our members to ensure that these services continue in the state and continue at a high level. It's not about quantity, it is about quality. So you as family members should be demanding quality services for your child that you understand. You don't have to be an expert. You just have to understand in general the work that's being done and what kind of outcomes you should be seeing. Okay? That's really important. Please empower yourself. Even just introduce yourself to a legislator or go, whoever it is, you can go right on azleg.gov and put in your zip code. It'll tell you who your person is. You can click right on it and send an email. Hi, I'm a parent of an individual with autism, and I'm your constituent, and I just want you to know I'm concerned about X, Y, and Z. I'm here to help if you need anything. It's not hard, right? I've been at the legislature every single year for like 20 years and, trying to educate the legislature and ensure our very best of, these are services so vitally important to our state. And I'll tell you, our Medicaid budget is huge. It is huge with our match. So for those of you who don't understand how that works, on the Medicaid side of it is we put in about 37 cents, the state does. The feds make the rest up, 63 cents, whatever it is, to make that whole dollar. So we're kind of getting 2 to 1. Well, no, we're not kind of. We're getting over 2 to 1, if you think about it. So when we put money and earmark it in our state's general fund, we do that in an effort to draw down the federal funds to make us whole, to be able to provide all of these services. And it's very detailed, et cetera, et cetera.
So if Medicaid's being cut, is it cut from the federal level or from the state level?
We've already we are getting cut on a federal level.
So then rather than them making up that 60 cents, to make it whole,
the state has to.
Then the state has to increase its budget to
Correct.
make that dollar. So then,
Correct.
And then where does that money come from the state?
Taxes.
Okay, just like property taxes or
all
sales
taxes.
There's
all sorts of. Honestly, there's a lot of different algorithms and things, but the legislature is creative, and they can.
Well, and that's where just to interject. And that sounds like that's where your group and the other lobbyists that you work with come into play, is where you're advocating for parents, you're advocating for this population. And so, the takeaway for me is, I know there are people out there telling this story. This is my problem, but there are people working on it.
Which is good.
But I can feel kind of rest assured that there are those that are going to give us the best outcome we can hope for. And in the interim, I'd hope that the message is, parents, be active, be engaged,
please
learn,
please
educate yourself.
Yes.
And regardless of what happens, you never lose your rights as a parent. You never lose your time. And so upgrading yourself, despite what may come, is going to always ensure you the best outcome. And I'm just grateful there are people like you, Ann, out there telling the story. So thank you for coming today.
Well, and then, so let's, if we can, we know that there's going to be some changes here in 2026, 2027.
Correct.
Just kind of feeling that, and I don't want to compare what's going on like a major storm. Like if there's a storm that's going to hit your city, like, okay, hey, I need to board up my windows, or here I need to, put some sandbags out. What advice would you give our parents? Like, hey guys, just so you know, this might be going down. This is how you should prepare yourself, but this might be the outcome in the next few years.
Right. And I love what you said, Nathan, earlier, was you have to get creative. We're going to have to be creative whether we like it or not. Do you know what I mean? We're just going to. And the reason that I say that is when funding shifts occur, we we move things around to say, okay, how much can we give here? How much can we give there? How much can we give there? And I would say for parents right now, gather what you have. And what I mean by that is your doctor's reports, your ABA reports, if you're getting ABA services, your reports through the state habilitation reports. Gather all the information about your loved one, whether it be your child or your sister, brother, whomever, right? Gather it together and get yourself organized so you know these are the services we have, right? This is the time frame for those services. This is on average how many hours we're getting, things like that. So you're better prepared if something is to get reduced or cut completely to say, okay, I already know all of these things. This is the piece we're looking at that's getting cut. Okay. If this is getting cut or reduced, what can I do in lieu of? Perfect. How do I look at that and say, okay, if we're only going to get 1 hour of speech, can we private pay? Mm-hmm. Not that we like to do that, but sometimes you have to. Can we private pay for an additional hour because it's really important for my child to have that service, right? Can I get it through my private insurance? Okay, I'm going to get really close to the microphone right here. Everybody has behavioral health benefits through their private insurance, okay? So look at your benefits. ABA is an Arizona medical model. There is, however, behavioral health services that can be received through a behavioral health provider. I'm not saying it's going to be the same. I'm not saying it's, one for the other, but I will tell you, you need to know and understand your benefits. And I know it's easy for me to say because I've been doing it for 100 years, but you really do need to understand your services, your array of choices, what your child or the individual may be eligible for, and be able to plug in those holes with some other things if available, and even volunteering stuff.
And that's just as simple as calling your insurance company and just, hey.
Well, and you can look at any one of your EOBs that you explanation of benefits that you get. You can.
Well, and listen, parents, don't be too afraid. What I think we're hearing is educate yourself, read your paperwork.
Don't be afraid. I'm happy to do this is insurance 101 for you guys if you want.
Right.
For all your families.
Well, and really the message is learn what you don't know. And if you feel like you're unprepared, do what you need to do to prepare yourself.
Agreed.
We usually try to give parents hey, what's the advice we'd give? And I think that's the advice is educate yourself.
100%.
Right? Don't just rely that everything will always be taken care of or that the services are going to stay the same. Educate yourself, empower yourself, and you can do this. Parent to parent, you can do this.
Yes, you can.
Every problem has a solution, and if it's not provided, find it. It's there. The resources are there, and there's coalitions like this that can help educate you and prepare you for that journey.
Yep, and we're going to put all of your information online, Ann, if that's okay, just so our families know kind of where to look, how to be involved with the coalition. As we close up, can you just... The next event is going to be the expo.
And it's in April.
So April, what date is that and where is it in? Do you know where it's at by chance?
Yeah, it's at, we always have ours at Desert. We have the same conference place. Oh my God, you're like totally put me on the spot. Oh. And I don't remember the date. Sorry, we had moved it.
That's okay. We can update it and we can put it on our podcast too.
Sorry. Yeah. So. And the reason, like I say, with that, whether it be the coalition or the Autism Society or any of these there's a lot of groups out there, really good groups out there. So just get yourself, involved a little bit and invested in it. I know you don't have all the time in the world and all the, it's really, really hard sometimes, but I will tell you, the families that have empowered themselves, I think those people that we've dealt with that have empowered themselves, they understand more and they're able to navigate when we get these cuts or when something happens. And I just want everybody to know you can do it. I mean, these guys are right. It seems like it's a lot, but it's not. You have people to help you and we will help you.
Okay. Awesome. Well, and so everybody, please make an effort if you can to go to the expo for the Arizona Autism Coalition. That's on April 11th.
Thank you.
At the
you guys
Desert
are the best. Thank you.
Willow Conference Center. Please be there. And thank you so much for being here today. I hope you'll come back again and give us an update.
Yeah.
Keep making the good fight at the Arizona State Legislature.
It's an easy fight. It is these are the best and easiest people to fight for ever.
Yes, and if any of our listeners want to reach out to you, we'll have your email address down below so they can reach out and kind of know how they can get involved.
Thanks for what you guys do too, by the way, because you know what? It's through this and through some of the other things I've seen that you guys have been doing for quite a while, actually. You're helping to relieve some of that anxiety and stress that a lot of families have and go through. So thank you for what you guys do, because not everybody does it. So well done.
Well, thank you. Thank you so much, Ann. Nathan, thank you so much for being here as well. Thank you for making us part of your day. Please don't forget to subscribe so you'll never miss a conversation that inspires connection. I also want to say thanks to our producer, Jesse Palmer, and our wonderful marketing director, Dallin Davis. Until next time, let's do some good.